What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another Greedo's Goldmine, your most bipolar toy show on all the interwebs. Today, let's just talk. We're going to talk about these things behind us, toys, but not necessarily a review or, anything along the lines of what we're excited about. We should get into that, honestly. But actually, what we want to talk about today is why do we collect? Where did this hobby come from? Turns out it's a family tradition, particularly among family members I've noticed for whatever reason who've had health issues similar to my own over time, whether it be my grandfather who had severe arthritis, among other things, my grandmother as well, both my mom's side. My mom herself, who, as I've alluded to in other videos, unfortunately and sadly passed away at a relatively young age due to autoimmune issues combined with probably just a circulating coronavirus that year. Actually, even in some respects, I guess my dad's a collector too, even though he's probably in the best health of all of us. But yeah, the point is, it's a family thing. It's always been there and kind of given us our way of getting through our tough times, whether that be mental health and autoimmune issues in my own case or in other family members' cases, just tough situations, perhaps economically. It would give them something special to look forward to when they could save up enough to afford that new piece for the shelf, for example. Or in the case of my grandfather, it was model trains, and being that he could barely walk by a certain age, and the fact that a lot of the people in my family who do go through those kind of challenges when they're younger are very active, very physical. So you can only imagine what that mental toll is when you start to lose that ability against your will. You need to find a happy place. And for him, it was his train collection and building massive scale dioramas and tables with walls that were painted like mountains and skies and clouds, beautiful scenes, cities. When it came to my mom and my grandma, again, rough health, but much better off than my grandfather. They weren't always active per se, but they liked their precious moments. You can't really do much with precious moments if you know what those are, in terms of action displays or full-on train towns. But you can load them up on a shelf, quite packed, and in some themes, I suppose. And so, yeah, those houses always had curios full of those. So when it came to my own life, naturally, and then, yeah, right, my dad, let's not forget about him. He and his family, there's a little bit of Star Trek and Pez dispenser collecting going on. But really, the cool thing to me is they're really into just items of the Wild West. It's really cool. I love it. There's always something interesting Wild West themed when you go over there. But yeah, for myself, naturally, it is largely action figures, but also some memorabilia like, your 1-to-1 scale helmets, lightsabers, things like that, comic books. I do love my retro video games. A few sports things here and there too from my hometown and where I'm at these days. That said, it gives me a happy place for sure. It gives me an outlet for my creativity for sure. And especially as I get older and have more issues associated with my health that limit me from doing my other joys like skateboarding, playing hockey, things like that, I always have somewhere I can put my own creativity into on a day-to-day basis related to the properties I like. And so when it came to my own properties, it was always something that gave me a special connection to my own family growing up. Star Wars, I will never forget the first time I saw it, remodeling my room with my dad. Empire Strikes Back was on, and that movie pretty much became an obsession. Had to see the rest of the trilogy. Believe next couple years Kenner re-released the action figures for the 90s, and the rest is history. My family always supported that one. So Star Wars, especially original trilogy, a lot of episode 1 to 3 because my kids have a soft spot for that, and Mandalorian as well because that was a family thing. Those I'm always going to be all about. Love 6-inch scale. Kiddos tend to go for 3.75 inch, so we kind of hit the whole spread there. And then being able to share that with my kids too, just being able to pass on that multi-generational tradition, for me, it's really special as both a collector and just sort of a family thing, and building healthy traits that you can grow with even into adulthood if life isn't always the way you see it. I mean, you still can have a happy place. It doesn't always have to be hardcore action, I suppose, is what I'm learning. Beyond that, wrestling. I was always a wrestling kid growing up, still to this day. And again, another tradition I somehow have been able to pass on to my own children. They just took to it naturally, seeing it on TV randomly one day. It wasn't even forced, which is the beauty. And yeah, that's pretty much the family's favorite sport, if I had a guess on the whole at this point, which is pretty sweet. So, we always collect my era because it takes me back to going on toy runs with my own mom and grandma and picking up the original Jakks Pacific figures. We had the ring back in the day, and unfortunately my mom sold them all at a garage sale at one point in my childhood when she felt I was done with them. So, that's part of the motivation on these elites and ultimates we do now, is to kind of replace the favorites we once had, the newer updated figures and the important outfits of the important characters we still need from really any time period, and then definitely the modern era for the kiddos and all of their favorites. When it comes to Marvel, again, it's a connection to just good nostalgic family memories. Same with DC. My mom and grandmother especially bought me, and my brother too, loads and loads of X-Men, Avengers, Batman, comics, you name it. It was awesome. And my own kiddos really took to X-Men 97 and have always had this sort of love for Spider-Man and the X-Men, seeing them on the shelves and just the colors, the characters, the cool features, the fact that there's cartoons for their generation to focusing on these like Spidey and his amazing friends, bringing back even some obscure villains you would think to kids such as Zola back there, but yeah, they actually have Zola in the cartoon looking like this. What do you know? And that's why he's on the shelf, because that's my little favorite Marvel villains of the family at the moment, sort of deal. And so, yeah, collecting has always just been there as a family trait. I've done it since I was a child. I pretty much only took time off to do my grad school PhD period. And a lot of that was based on money and the fact that you're not well paid as a grad school student. And you have to kind of put the resources you do have into building your career and social environment. Unfortunately, it's expensive, especially in Southern California. So you don't necessarily have that extra for collecting during those years, and when you do, you tend to use it more towards maybe things like going to see your own family, or in my case, the beginnings of what would become a severely narcissistic and abusive relationship marriage that I just didn't see the signs in, and they didn't want me collecting until I started to take my own life back, last few years or so, after really getting proper help, as I've alluded to in other videos. But once I kind of got into my zone again and have been collecting, it's, kind of just picked up where I left off. I still have, to this day, most of my childhood retro video games, Pokemon stuff, Star Wars action figures, dioramas, vehicles. I'm trying to think, comic books for sure. We've always added some over time, but I definitely have my original ones as well. A lot of number ones from back in the early 90s for the DC and the Marvel range. The action figures galore at this point, right? A lot of these ones are new though. When it comes to old stuff, what do we still have? Oh, believe it or not, at my dad's place, I have an entire box of the original Power Rangers. Somehow those managed to survive, but the Marvel and DC figures didn't, or the wrestlers. But yeah, we got a lot of stuff is the point. And just, it's been a lifelong thing, collecting pretty much these properties, and something that until the day I die probably will be a happy place, especially because it's another tradition, as mentioned, that I can share with my children, encourage their growth, their imagination, their ability to tell new stories, mix worlds, and really build happy times in similar ways to myself when family is otherwise complicated. It's very important to have those happy places, so you're not just stuck in a loop of, oh, these were bad times, bad people, whatever, when that's not necessarily true. I mean, there's definitely bad elements or definitely bad behaviors in some of the individuals of, say, the children's environment, but it doesn't have to be the only thing, right? And that's where we learn to grow, heal, build, and start anew with toys. Sometimes talking life too, and technology and all kinds of other stuff. So for all of you who are along for the ride and tune in regularly and subscribe, like, etc., thank you very much. Your support does not go unnoticed. We hope that we can grow this channel even further, get our messages out, share our love of toys, collecting, and really just build some sort of a special community. But until the next one, everyone, we'll catch you later. Have a great rest of your day.